said you needed that one, and boy, you did. How does it feel to get it back?
Feels good. I haven't had a win since the finals of 2019 with COVID, and then last season was a rough year for me outside of fighting, and then I fought a tough guy in Chris Wade this first fight of the season, and it took me, this fight tonight I needed mentally for myself to put myself through a grind to get back into that mentality of like, hey, do whatever it takes to go out and get a win. And Sheymon's a tough opponent. I mean, he's fought a lot of tough guys. He's had a lot of good wins. And he's a game opponent, and I knew he was going to be tough, but I know that on my best night, nobody can beat me, and I don't feel by any means that tonight was my best night, but getting that win and getting off that 3-fight losing streak was it was huge for me.
Awesome. Do you feel like, well, you see 3 losses like that, that'll change somebody, right? Do you feel like it changed you for the better? Like it's going to evolve you into a better Lance Palmer?
I wouldn't say that. I would say there's a lot of things that it attribute to those losses outside of MMA, as far as like family stuff and negative things and positive things that have happened outside of fighting for me. So it'll definitely change you, but I don't know for the better. It made me dig deep inside myself mentally and try and figure some shit out in my own head, basically. So that was good to go out and be able to grind that fight out, even if it was ugly. It was what I needed to do for myself to get back to the old Lance Palmer.
Really glad you have that one.
Thank
And
you.
last one for me. How are you going to celebrate this one?
Shoot. I don't really know how much I'll celebrate tonight, but probably just go home, relax, be with my daughter, my family, enjoy life.
Awesome.
Lance, first off, congratulations on the win. I know it feels good for you to get a win back going. Was this the kind of fight you expected it to be, or was he giving you things you didn't expect?
It was kind of what I expected it to be in a way, but I was trying to get the finish. I was looking to get out there, hurt him up top, take him down, try and get to a submission position. And I did a few times. I just kind of rushed it and got excited about the position instead of controlling. The first round I was really calm in those positions, but he was still so fresh that it wasn't like I was just gonna go in there and pop something off real quick and be done like I wanted to. But I'm kind of glad the fight went the way it did, because it made me kind of dig, like I said, mentally, and push myself through that instead of finding a way to lose. Kind of just went in there and found a way to win.
Now, when you got his back late in the fight, how close did you feel like he was? Because from where we were, it looked like you had it pretty far in.
I didn't have the choke, but I was on his jaw, and I was cranking on the jaw, and I could kind of feel him wincing and trying to make it comfortable for himself, but it was too slippery for me to be able to get lower and try and get it down to the neck. But at that point in the fight, I saw that there was only like a minute or so left, so I just knew when he was trying to get squirmy just to stay on the back, finish on top, and make sure the fight was, if you finish the fight on top after that, you're going to win. So that was my mentality there.
One thing I've just always been curious about with the PFL, for you as a fighter, when you come into a matchup like this, needing that first round finish, is that something you're telling yourself, okay, I need to go out there first round, put this guy away, or is it more so, just let's get the win first?
It's always get the win first, but for like the last, since the end of 2019, basically, because we fought on New Year's Eve, like that was my last win. So for me, it was get the win at all costs. Obviously, the first round finish was something this week I found out, like if you have a first round finish, you trump a guy with 2 regular wins, which I never even knew that. But I was never in a position to have to really care until, right now. So that was kind of an afterthought. It was mainly like, hey, if I get this first round finish, that's great. But for me, it's just I needed to go out and get a win for myself more than anything else. So now, regardless of not being in the playoffs, puts me in a better position for my future as far as coming off a win. So.
And I was going to say, this whole season you fought killers, Chris Wade and him. What are the big takeaways from this season for you then?
Just getting back to my old style, and that was this fight. You know, my fight against Chris Wade, I wouldn't even give myself a C- in that fight, honestly. So it was just getting back to what I needed to do, and that's, you know, make it a grind sometimes. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's not always going to be pretty. You're not always going to get the, you know, you're not going to go out and have the easy wins all the time. So that kind of made me dig deep, and that was, I appreciate this fight. You know, this fight was bigger to me than a lot of other fights that I've had, even the finals, the, you know, first 2 seasons.
And then the last one for me, obviously you've been in the PFL for quite some time now. I'm just curious, how do you think the division's evolving?
I think it's just changing as far as like who makes the playoffs. We used to have 8-man bracket for the playoffs the first 2 years. Now it's 4. So I think only having 2 regular season fights puts a lot more pressure on the, you know, they award the finish more. And that's why, like, if you only have 1 win but you have a 6-point finish, that counts for more points than a guy with 2 wins. So it's kind of crazy. It's kind of wild how that works. But they want to award finishers, and so that's kind of where that point system comes from. But it's evolving as well. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's too different from the first 2 years. You're just seeing, you know, Wade came down from 55, but he was a perennial contender at 55. So that's not somebody necessarily new. He's just new to the weight class. Bubba's a guy who's been good outside of this league before he was here. Sheymon was in World Series of Fighting when I was the champ there. He was in the UFC. These are all the guys that have always been good and they've been around. So it's just bringing more names to the league, which is great for me because I want to fight guys like that. It's the first 2 seasons was hard. I'm fighting tough guys, but nobody has a clue who they are. So I'm like, yeah, this guy's really good. And they're like, well, you didn't finish this guy, but it's like, yeah, he's good, but no one has a clue who he is because the PFL was his first chance at making a name for himself. So it just makes it easier now to say, hey, I'm fighting this guy, and people are like, oh, sick, that's going to be a good fight. So it makes it easier on me, I guess. I don't have to explain every opponent as much.
Thank you.
Yep.
One question. Did you feel like you silenced those who doubted you before now?
I wouldn't say that I've been a person to, like, you know, shut up haters or silence doubters, but that was more, this fight was definitely just for me to silence the doubt in my head after having 3 losses in a row and kind of feeling like, hey man, like that 1.5 years off of fighting, did that really, like, did that just end my streak, like my career? I was on an 11-fight win streak and then got stopped cold turkey due to the pandemic, and then it was just like a downward spiral from there, and I never thought it was going to end. So this win was more like silencing my own doubt.
You said this was more of your style of fight, back to the old self you were back before the pandemic. Was that getting to showcase your wrestling and take down and going for those finishes?
Yeah, big time. I mean, I landed some good left hands as well, and getting back to that and just landing some strikes and making it a little dog fight. Not one big thing in the fights that I've lost is I backed up to the fence every fight and just like waited for something to happen. This fight, there was a lot more, you know, pressure release, like pushing forward, forcing those takedowns, forcing him to the fence. Even if I didn't get the takedown every time, I was making him work. And I'm not going to be outworked by somebody in the wrestling game as far as my cardio goes and stuff like that. So it was like, if I don't get this one, that's great. You know, let him throws. And then once we got back to the middle, he was more afraid to throw combos because he knows right when he opens up, the shot's going to be there for me. And then I landed some heavy left hands, and that kind of backed him up as well. So it was just kind of, you know, in a small sense, everything we did during this camp and everything my coaches wanted me to do was things that I did at least once or twice in the fight. So that's huge for me. It's really good.
And then how do you use the momentum from this moving forward, and what is in the near future for you?
Man, it's just it's exciting to get the win, but I want to get back in the gym and keep getting better. Obviously, I'm not in the playoffs, but if they bring me back next year, that's great. If not, I'm coming off a win against a guy who's a UFC vet, so it helps my cause wherever I'm at. And if I don't come back here, then, you know, I've been very appreciative of everything PFL has done for me and my family, and I mean, I've earned 2 world titles here and fought 4 seasons, so it's I definitely consider myself a PFL veteran, but I don't really like the veteran term. It feels like you're on your way out, so we'll see what happens, but I'm just going to enjoy this win and get back to my family over the weekend.
Congratulations again, and good luck moving forward.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Cool. Thank you.